You became a member in '76, I believe.
If that's what it says, that's probably true.
And what are some of your outstanding memories of the organization?
So I got involved really with AAI in the advanced immunology course. I got asked to teach in the course for a couple of years, and then I got asked, and they had for a few, I guess they probably did it for 5 years, but I did it only for a few. They had a person come for half the course, and they called him the guru. And what you did was you provided some continuity, because the advanced course people come in, they give their 2-hour lecture, and they're around for a couple hours, and they bolt. And so they wanted some senior people to be there to talk to the students and have, when the students didn't understand something, they could ask questions of you, and you weren't quite so forbidding, because you didn't just pontificate for 2 hours about them. They could ask. So I did that, and that was really fun. And Bob Rich was one of the years I did that, was one of the other gurus. And Bob was, I'm trying to figure out exactly what Bob was doing then. I think he was probably an associate dean at Emory then, and was interested and realized that I was interested in kind of broader issues of policy. And he was chair of the Public Affairs Committee, and the sort of professional person on the Public Affairs Committee was a guy called Pat White, the Lauren Gross equivalent of the time. And so I was on the Public Affairs Committee for probably 3 or 4 years, and made some Hill visits, and really and it was at a time when, so it must have been George the First's time, when when the Republican legislature was very big on getting rid of all these onerous regulations, right? We were going to deregulate everything. And so we tried to figure out ways to make life easier for people by pushing back against, and there's always been this increasing regulatory burden that we have, that's driven by someone's afraid for safety, someone's afraid that you're going to throw some deadly germ down the drain, or that a terrorist is going to walk in and be able to find something in your lab. No one can find anything in the labs. But to try and figure out how to push back against increasing regulatory burden. And so he got me interested, and I got interested in the larger policy questions. And so when Bob stepped down, I was asked to chair that committee, which I did, and I think I did it for 3 or 4 years, which is, now we don't do that anymore, but which was really good. And I really got interested in trying to push AAI and push the government into thinking harder about support for biomedical research, how we do that, the things which are important to our members in terms of regulation and in terms of how we live our daily lives. I think my personal feeling of the most useful thing I did on that committee is I had lunch with Pat White and the chief of staff from Harkin's office in the Senate cafeteria. And it was at a time when one of the things I was, and I'm still interested in, is postdoctoral salaries, which I still think are too low. But at that time were really too low. And so we were chatting about this, and this fellow says, well, how much do they get paid? And I said, well, I had a fellow in my lab who was an MD, PhD, board certified pediatric rheumatologist. And he was making $32,000 a year. And he said, that's not possible. And I said, trust me. that's possible. That's what he gets paid on a T-32 with that much experience. And he said, well, we have to fix that. So that year, postdoctoral stipends went up about 25%. Now, I don't claim that I did that. And there are certainly lots and lots of people worried about postdoctoral stipends, and not just me and people inside NIH, but it was clear that this was a really important guy who was the chief aide to a congressman, who was really important on the right committee, and maybe it creates the receptive field for fertilization, right? And but it happened, and I think that's how you have to think about doing all the work on public affairs, is that, you just can't point to something and say, yeah, well, that happened, but this is probably as close as you can get.